before we come to Earth, we couldn't experience these things. We couldn't experience what it was like to touch, what it was like to cry. We couldn't experience any of that unless we had the mortal body, because that's what completes that journey, coming from the spirit world, being born of light and intelligence, which is spirit, and coming into a world of cell and matter, flesh and bone. It's no different from the story of the ascended Master Jesus, born of a Mother Mary and born of God, or half good, or half light and intelligence, and being born of a Virgin Mary. To me, we're all born that way, and when we look at people saying, well, we're not perfect, I don't go with that, because to me, it's like creating a piece of art and somebody coming to your artwork and saying, oh my gosh, what is that? That's ugly. Destroy it. It doesn't even look good. Well, you're basically disrespecting the artisan that's created that. So if we look at ourselves as a piece of art that's imperfect or ugly, we're basically dissing the creator. Because the creator creates things the way he creates things, and she creates things. Just like, Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother created spirit. The spirit is the spirit, and it's perfect. Comes to earth in this mortal body, and there's complications. There's things that happen in life, and it is what it is. But to disrespect creation, I think, is a no-no. Because you're basically disrespecting your highest good, your highest God, and everything thereof. So I think of myself, and I think, well, I'm happy and really feel good at where I'm at today. So I'm praising my highest good. I'm taking the talents that I have, and I'm cultivating them and multiplying them, not burying them. If you bury a talent, you go out and say, well, you suppress it, and you never really become your highest you, because you're too busy worried about how I look, and I don't sing this and I don't do that, and I feel like a fool, and so to me it's taking whatever you have and whatever you can do, and then sharpening that skill and bringing that completely to its highest good, and by doing so, you're glorifying your highest God, whatever that may be. To me, there are many gods, and there are many levels and degrees. We believe that, and when I say that, I mean they're helpers, they're spirit helpers, and to me, we can pull on that. If we need, say for instance, power from the east, well, we need to call upon that power. If we need power from the north, we need to call that in, and take that attribute and have it teach us, or take that power and the attributes and everything that come from that direction and have it teach us. If we want to become more connected to deity and a higher celestial being, then we can call upon that and say, well, can you teach me how to be like you? Can you teach me how to commune and have a full knowledge of how things work in that realm, instead of guessing or reading books and all this other stuff? Because, if you go with knowledge, I mean, you can take a book, for instance, and open it up and read history, which is his story, you see. But if you go into the reality of it and open your book, and connect with spirit, then you can find out the true story, if you can get to that place. But if you take, like, for instance, the scroll, you take the scroll that came out of the Holy Land. It was round, and it was made from the skin of a tree, and there was ancient writing on it. And say a lot of religions take the scroll, which is round, and put it in a book. And then they create the boundaries in this book, and fear and shame, and you're a sinner, and you're this and you're that, and they put these belief systems in you. They completely take you off of your highest you, because then it wants to be governed and controlled, And so therefore in your mind you constantly run around and you make a mistake, and it's, oh my gosh, I'm just a heathen, or I'm just this, and I need to persecute myself and beat myself up and strap myself, because I just don't feel worthy anymore. And so the animal kingdom don't do that. When an animal makes a mistake, it's already passed. It's done. If a wolf gets his foot caught in a trap, he chews that foot off, or that paw off, and goes on its way with 3 legs and says, that's not going to happen again, or dies. And what we do is we end up reliving that transgression, or reliving this mistake, or our partners end up making us relive that mistake, and they hold you hostage, you see. But until you come to terms with that mistake, and you go off and make that mistake right, then you go into full restoration, you see. And restoration, it comes from making that wrong right. So this way nobody can have anything over you. The only one that you'll stand accountable for is yourself and your highest good, which is your highest God. Because all the energies in between, it's not even going to matter, because they can't take you and say, well, hey, you're doing right from wrong. There's not even another human being on this planet that can tell you that you're doing right and wrong. Only you know what's right and wrong. And so this will tell you what's right and wrong, not this. Because the mind will always try to override this, the heart space. But as you go and you say something to another human being and you put your foot in your mouth, what you do then is you end up learning from that. Or say if you tell somebody, oh, you're ugly, and you hurt their feelings, and you see tears rolling down their eyes, you literally take that hit as well, because you look at yourself and say, man, I should have never said that. And I'm going to be more cautious about how I approach people, you see. So every day is an experience in a learning. We're on learning ground every day. And so I believe honestly that, to me, when an individual takes the journey with unfinished business, can you imagine taking the journey, or telling your spouse or whatever the case may be, oh, I hate you, and jumping in your car and taking off, and then actually getting in an accident and leaving this realm, saying something like that and really didn't mean it, but you just moved on impulse, or you moved on anger and fear, or whatever the case may be, leaving this realm and not being able to go back and apologize and make it right. See, that's part of the hell that they talk about, throughout religions, is you're going to hell. Well, what you create here is what you take there. And if you leave this earth with unfinished business, then you're creating, I wouldn't call it a hell. It's like not tying your shoes or not completing something, and then you end up there in limbo trying to complete it, but you don't have the body to complete it. You see what I'm saying? So how can you go back and make that wrong right, or say, oh, please forgive me, honey, for disrespecting you that way, when you don't have it anymore. And so it's important that we make all our wrongs right, so this way it becomes a good day to take the journey, because all is made right, and take the journey without fear. You see, and if you can get to that place, then you're getting to that place of mastery, to where you'll be able to do what Elijah did, go to the other side without experiencing death. You see, because when you start to vibrate at those frequencies, then you start tapping into a celestial realm, and the veil doesn't even exist, but it's taking you to that place of translation, being translated and taken to the other side. And people use that word a little loosely, but to me, if you can get to that place of perfecting your walk and you're communing with celestial beings, by all means, they'll take you by the hand and say, come. Or they'll give you that sacred knowledge that awaits, because they just guard the ports. They're up there just saying, hey, wait a minute, I'm not going to give you this. You know, do you think for 1 minute, if you're out here running amok and being this complete tyrant, I'm going to give you this celestial knowledge so that you can go out and bastardize it, you know, plagiarize it and do whatever you do to become the guru of the planet, or whatever the case may be? That's not the way it works. So I look at the energies and our Teoshpai, our people, you know, that are out there that have experienced an experience that they truly loved and honored, and really call upon you to help them fulfill that experience. You know what I'm saying? And so we it's like the gift, you know, the gift of life is an experience, and our ancestors want us to experience the fullness of it. And the fullness of it is to live on this planet without blocks, without shame, without the guilt, without the hate. That's the fullness of it. That's when the mighty change of heart comes forth. That's when the heart becomes gold. And we're all searching for a heart of gold, like Neil Young says, you know, in that song, Searching for a Heart of Gold. We're all searching for that heart of gold. And when we find it, that's when you begin to raise your vibrations. But there's a lot of work involved in that. I believe even the Ascended Master Jesus was searching for that heart of gold when he went on his 40-day fast to overcome the world and overcome the elements. And he's the only one that raised the body, which is the elements, with the spirit. You see, and that's key, because once you overcome the elementals, you're actually raising your body with your spirit, and they're lining up. You see, your spirit's not way down here and the body's way up here, or your spirit's way up here and your body's way down there. It's aligning it. And once you align it, you end up raising it. You raise the body because your body's now living. Every breath that goes in and out is the living breath, you see. And you're feeding every organ in your body with that breath of life, because you're speaking your truth. You know, everyone will confess. Everyone will restore. Whether on this side, on the other side, it's a little harder, because you don't have the body to fulfill your mission. So when you go off, when you leave this earth without fulfilling your mission, you're on the other side of the veil saying, or in the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, saying, man, I need to go back and finish this, but you can't. You see, unless somebody comes in and taps into your energy and helps you fulfill that mission. It's no different from my uncle leaving as a heroin addict and left this mortal plane with pain and suffering and hurt and heartache. You see, me going in and channeling that and looking at that helped him get to that place, and making his wrongs right helped him progress on the other side. You see, and that's not a hard thing to do once you get out of your ego and get out of yourself. Because, you know, to us, the spirit world controls all things. All things. You know, if you think you're getting over on somebody by being a shy stirrer or going out and manipulating another human being, you know what? You're manipulating generations. You know, when you go and wrong somebody, you're wronging generations. And those generations are on the other side communing with your ancestry. And before you know it, they might go into battle. Who knows? You see? But it's really making sure that we honor all generations, all cultures, so this way there is no battle there in the spirit world. You know? That we all have respect, and all full knowledge comes forth. Respecting people here in this three-dimensional world, in this plane, I think, is the beginning. If you cannot respect yourself, and you cannot respect another human being, I'll tell you something. You cannot respect what's going on in the fourth, fifth, and sixth, and 12th dimensions. There's no way. You know, because everything works on aligning. You know, you gotta align. If you're out there running amok and displeasing this house that houses the spirit, then how can your spirit and your body be one? Or even your soul? How can they align? If you're completely using drugs and harming the body, the spirit's going to say in the soul, hey, wait a minute, this is out of sync. How can I even commune with you? Because you're creating mass division within yourself. How can I commune with you? How can you listen to that internal compass when your compass is completely out of whack? It just doesn't work that way. It's aligning that body, that mind, the soul, the spirit. You see, aligning that so this way you're in complete harmony and the compass is completely working. You know, there was a story once about that I read about this this individual that was on a ship, and he built this ship, and it was a biblical story. He built the ship, and he brought his brothers and family and all this on the ship to look for this promised land, right? And so with that, the brothers started partying and dancing and carrying on because things were going good for them at that time. And so this individual says, hey, you know what, we got to remember our God. We got to slow down here. You know, let's stay connected. And they were like, hey, who are you to come and tell us the way we need to be doing things? So they ended up binding him with cords on the ship. And actually the ship began to lose control. And it started going off course. And then the waves and tempests arose, and they were all freaking out, thinking, well, what do we do now? And so as soon as they went and loosened this individual, then he began to pray and so on and so forth, and then everything began to align, and the ship went back on course because the compass started working again. And that's no different from us. When we're bound by cords, meaning bound by addiction or bound by ego or anything else, then that internal compass begins to lose focus and lose direction, and before you know it, tempests rise and different trials and tribulations take place in our life. Then we end up saying, okay, well, what do we do now? Well, when you drop to your knees and bow your head and acknowledge your God and your highest good, then that internal compass just starts working and you know exactly where you're going. It's like taking a road trip. You know, you break out a map and you're looking and you're saying, okay, where do I go? And you get off the beaten path. You say, wait a minute, we got to stop. You stop and redirect and get back on that interstate or whatever the case may be. You'll get to your place, your destination. But if you have a TomTom and stuff, it's it. But you know how that works. So, you know, that's just life. That's just the way life works, you know. And it's a beautiful thing, man. And you know, the beauty of it is it's a beautiful thing to get off course once in a while, because you know what, you get beat down a little bit and you say, you know what, you're not all that. You know what I mean? You got to call on me, is what Wakantanka says. You got to call on me, is what the Creator says. Because I'm the one that's going to lead you and guide you. And when you get to that knowledge and you submit yourself to that power greater than yourself, then you will succeed. But you can go through life thinking that you're this and that and become the rich man. But you know what? You can have all the money in the world, but you can't buy back your past. So the thing about it is when you look at what is the word rich? You know what I mean? What is it to be rich? You know, and a lot of people spend their whole lifetime, like I said, accumulating and looking for that, you know, financial status or whatever the case may be. And at the end, when mortality sits in and you're getting ready to take the journey, you want to give it all back because of, you know, not feeling right within yourself. I mean, I know an individual in America that had major industry in a lot of different countries, but a lot of contaminants hit the soil, and people were in the communities were getting sick, you know, with cancers and so on and so forth. So the individual goes out and takes his billions of dollars and creates cancer institutes and hospitals and different things like that, hospice centers, to try to redeem himself for this thing that he created, you know. And so when you look at stuff like that, you know what, You don't want to be at the end of your mortal life trying to redeem yourself or walking the earth with that guilt that says, oh man, only if I would have did it this way or if I would have did it that way. You don't want to be there. You just want to be that child that just loves himself or herself. You want to be that child that's impressed by the butterfly. You want to be that child that looks at a nest that's round and look at the bird and the fish and the beauty of air and breathing and getting on the horse and riding and looking at the beach and gathering seashells and looking at the creation and the creation story. In life, I'll tell you, I spent a lot of years chasing counterfeits, chasing something that wasn't even real. In my mind, I thought it was real. You know, when I was into bodybuilding, I thought, man, you know, I had to get bigger and bigger and bigger. You know, but look at me now. You know, I'm, you know, don't work out much anymore, and I don't have what I had when I was 20 with 19-inch arms and so on. So today I look at the stage that I'm in. It's more about giving people the knowledge and that experience of learning rather than the ego that comes along with that world of look at me, you know, like a peacock throwing its feathers around saying look at me, look at me. You know, I'm not there anymore. My heart is taking people to a place of their mighty change of heart, because in the end we will meet again and you will look at me and say thank you for that knowledge that you dumped on me, or I should have listened. Because in life, this isn't the end. This is only the beginning, you see. Because we're going to go back and say, hey, remember that time when we were sitting there doing that recording? Or do you remember that time when we did this? And look at what we made it back home. And I believe honestly that the only thing we can do in this lifetime that has any kind of weight and value is to get people home. And this isn't home. This isn't home. But to get people back to the place to be in the presence of your highest God, which is your highest good. And that's all we can do on this planet, because it doesn't matter really what you own. It's what owns you. It's not about what you own. It's what owns you. And who has the creative rights over you. Because it's not you. We don't even own these bodies. They were loaned to us to house a spirit that's Wakan. That's it. So it's what we do with this and what we do in this mortal life really matters in the eternities. To make those contracts with our ancestors, to bring them, to praise them while you live in this realm, you know, to be your highest good, and to say, look, I stand for the many. This is who I stand for. That's why it's a beautiful thing to see the Maori when they say, well, I come from this maunga, this mountain. I come from this water, you see. And that's the beauty of it. The sad part is when the water stops flowing. When the water stops flowing is when you become sick. When the tears don't flow anymore, you become sick. But when you have the broken heart and you're speaking your truth, that's when you're magnifying your highest good. Or when you're taking your talent and you're taking it to a place of saying, look, this is what I came to earth to do. This is the talent I brought from the spirit world. This is the talent. Take a look at this. And people say, wow, that's great. See, this is what God, Wakantanka, Buddha, gave me to bring to earth. Take a look at this. You see? And then you're magnifying your highest God, which is your highest good. So.
That all connected thing, that, you know, you'd said that before.
What?
That we're all connected in our purposes.
Oh, we're all
our
connected.
Our contract in the spirit world was to get each other home.
Well, like in our culture, it was is we're connected to all things, all our relations. We're related to the air, we're related to the rain, we're related. And the reason why we're related is because when the Great Spirit, the Creator, created all things, He created us with that same energy. So therefore, if you take the Master's hand that creates, the energy that comes from that creative frequency creates all things. So we are created in the Creator's image and likeness as well. So we're co-creators. But what are we creating? We could be creating havoc today. You could be creating sorrow, or you could be creating joy. That's why I say, and the $1 million question is, why do you do what you do? Because that's what you're creating. So, if you say, well, I'm an artist, take a look at this. Well, you're creating it.